state. The mob even set the man's car on fire. The mob suspected the man to be a child lifter and thrashed him as a result. But police urged locals not to take law in their hands and based on rumors of child lifting. An FIR has been registered and at least 10 people, including minors, have been apprehended while the investigation is in process.
A shocking video has emerged of a group of women mercilessly thrashing a man outside the Raipur airport. Yes, more.
The angry woman kept slapping the man, punching him and even thrashing him with a belt. They even tore the man's shirt when he tried to flee from them. The entire incident was allegedly over a monetary dispute. The man, who claims to be a taxi driver for a travel company, alleges that he didn't get paid for the months of May and June. When he went to the travel agency's office at the airport, he claims that the employees started misbehaving with him. The taxi driver alleges that when he asked for the manager's number, the female employees started thrashing him.
Heavy rains in Bihar's Bhagalpur have led to large-scale destruction. Here's a report.
As the water levels of the Ganga rose, the ground under this house gave way. That led to the roof of the house caving in, and within minutes the entire structure got washed away. Soil erosion after heavy rains are leading to more and more homes getting destroyed.
2 दर्जन तक घर समा गए गंगा में और इससे पहले जो है शुरू से देखा जाए तो हमारे ग्राम में 50 घर से ऊपर विलीन हो गए होंगे.
The situation is so dire that people have no choice but to ditch their homes in order to save their lives. It's not just houses. Soil erosion has also brought down several trees. These visuals of trees flowing in floodwaters has become an all too common sight this monsoon.
Urs Razvia in Bareilly is the only book fair in Asia where only books related to Islam are found on a large scale. This is an annual book fair. Booksellers from all over the country come and set up their stalls here. People wait for this book fair for the whole year and also purchase a large amount of books from this fair. Books here are available at a discount of 50%.
यहाँ पे किताबें उर्स रिज़वी के मौके पर डिस्काउंट पे मिलती हैं, इसलिए हम यहाँ से इतना वजन इतनी किताबें लेकर जा रहे हैं ताकि हमें इसमें डिस्काउंट का फ़ायदा मिले. और ये दावत इस्लामी की तरफ से 450 रुपये वाला कुरान 30 पारों का 150 रुपये में दावत इस्लामी मकतबतुल मदीना की तरफ से शाया कर रही है. तो इस वजह से हम जो 350 रुपये की किताब है वो 120 रुपये.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Super Saturday debate. I'm Shivani Gupta. It is certain now that Congress is all set to get its first non-Gandhi president in over 2 decades. The race for the next Congress president for the first time in 25 years will be between Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot and former Union Minister Shashi Tharoor. Now the MP from Thiruvananthapuram got his nomination form collected today through his close aide Alam Javeri from the AICC headquarters on the first day of the start of the nomination process. This came a day after Gehlot made it clear that there will be no candidate from the Gandhi Parivar this time. Will Mr. Gehlot have a clear upper hand since he seems to be backed by the Gandhis themselves, or can Mr. Tharoor put up a fight? Before that debate, here is what works for each candidate. Now, Ashok Gehlot is a veteran leader. He can tap into the OBC vote bank. He can galvanize some of the hierarchy and the leadership of the Congress party across various states. But the con that goes with him is that he is seen as subservient to the Gandhis. Now, will the cadre really want to change that perception that the Gandhis will continue to be in control and that, or, really want the Congress party to move on from the age-old tried and tested formula remains to be seen. Now, Shashi Tharoor, he has administrative experience as an MP, as an ex-minister. He could make use of some of that as the candidate, as the next Congress president. But he's also not seen as a mass leader who can galvanize the cadre. Could that go against him as the next big face of the Congress party? Here's more, and then we debate.
In the last press conference, I made my position very clear, and that remains my position.
वन मैन वन पोस्ट का फॉर्मूला लागू नहीं होता है, परंतु कांग्रेस पार्टी कोई बनता है तो वो 2 पोस्ट पे काम नहीं कर सकता ना, उसको पूरे कंट्री का देखना पड़ेगा, हर राज्य का देखना पड़ेगा। तो जस्टिफाई करने के लिए 1 पोस्ट पे रहना ज़्यादा उचित है।
Dr. Anshul Avijit is the Congress spokesperson joining us on the show today. Tuhin Sinha is from the BJP. I'm also joined by Rashid Kidwai, senior journalist and author, knows the Congress party very well. Also Radhika Ramashesan, senior journalist and columnist, joining us on the show. Thank you all for your time. I want to begin by our experts first. I'll bring in our political guests in just a bit. Radhika, do you believe Mr. Tharoor's fight can be strong, or will it be purely symbolic?
I think it's somewhere midway. You know, Shashi Tharoor has a record. He's a veteran of of many contests. Let's not forget, he jumped into the fray for UN presidency. I mean, quite audacious on his part, if you ask me. He's won 3 elections from Thiruvananthapuram. The second one was particularly tough, but he made a fight of it. So I wouldn't say that it's entirely symbolic. However, Mr. Gehlot is perceived as the Gandhi's candidate, therefore the official nominee in a sense, because the shadow of Mr. K.C. Venugopal follows him wherever he goes. So that itself, gives an impression that he has Rahul's blessings as well, apart from Sonia. And then we have to see the composition of the electoral college. That is most important.
But will we ever see the composition of the electoral college publicly? Radhika? Radhika, will we see the composition of the electoral college publicly?
You're asking me?
Yes, go ahead. I think we're facing some issue because Mr. Tharoor, Radhika, has been obviously wanting to take a look at those lists. He apparently has, but that's been the larger question hanging over the Congress election. You say that it will be important to see the electoral rolls or the electoral college, but will everyone get to know? Will it be that transparent? That's the question I was asking you.
Okay, no. Because having covered some of the organizational elections of the Congress from Uttar Pradesh in the past, there is an element of farce about the whole thing. You know, these delegates who make up the electoral college are usually clients of, various leaders at various levels of the hierarchy. And who are these leaders? The leaders are generally appointed by the top leadership in Delhi. So therefore, it's a very a proxy kind of process that goes down. So this is not like a parliamentary election or even an assembly election or a panchayat election. That is why Shashi Tharoor and Manish Tiwari have asked for the lists, because, there are ghost names, I mean, names which don't exist, but nonetheless find their place on the lists. There are duplicates. I mean, there are the names of those who have nothing to do with the party remotely. But as I said, they all are clients. They may be somebody's driver, somebody's cook, whatever, So therefore, I think they can legitimately seek to scrutinize the electoral rolls. But that, I think Madhusudan Mistry made it very clear that it is not going to be circulated. If they want, then they can go to each state office or PCC office and look at the rolls for themselves. I mean, that's an impossible task, really. I mean, for anyone to sort of perambulate the country and go to each PCC office or DCC or whatever block level office and ask for the rolls, scrutinize. How are they going to know if the names are genuine or not? I mean,
so having said that, then Mr. Tharoor, and let me take that to Rashid Kidwai, starts on the back foot to begin with, isn't it?
I think, Shivani, to my understanding, these are all kind of postures. It's posturing. He's the first to collect the form. He may file nomination. We know that the deadline for withdrawal is there. So it is going to be, it depends whether how Mr. Ashok Gehlot would he want to, get unanimously elected, reach out to Mr. Tharoor, ask his concerns and try to incorporate those concerns and offer him. Remember, Mr. Shashi Tharoor, my understanding is he is obviously he's an ambitious person. At the same time, he's very cautious. He wants to be a Pranab Mukherjee, a Manmohan Singh, a Arjun Singh, some kind of thinking person who could write, person who can articulate some kind of ideologue, Congress ideologue. He doesn't want to be a dissenter or a rebel. Remember, he heads the All India Professional Congress that has units in almost all states, 28 states, and in union territories.
Yes.
So he has some understanding. Of course, as Radhika was pointing out, these are organizational elections. If you get the electoral, the number of electors that over 9,000, one is that you can, just try to reach out to them, which is very difficult. Other is you can go to court and try to create some.
No, I'm sure that's not going to happen. But Mr. Rashid Kidwai, you almost sound like you don't believe that Shashi Tharoor is indeed going to contest. You believe that is not certain yet.
No. Look, the electoral college is as such, and everyone knows that there is a kind of Rajasthan problem is there, and the Congress High Command, if we take their name, like Gandhis are very keen to settle that issue, and that is why Ashok Gehlot is being considered for president post, so that Sachin Pilot can be the chief minister. But if that doesn't happen, then Gandhis would have a lot of problem. Mr. Tharoor, and rightly so, he wants to be leader of Congress party in Lok Sabha. Which he's something that he's not being considered. He wants to be a member of the Congress Working Committee. You see, at present, Mr. Tharoor, who's a towering leader and is an intellectual and a writer, 28 books, etc., but he is not among 5 top Congress leaders from Kerala. In the Congress scheme of things, in terms of protocol and hierarchy, etc. So Mr. Tharoor wants a place in the high table. Whether
are you saying this is a negotiating tactic then, collecting his nomination form?
Precisely, that's what I'm saying. It's a posture.
It's posture. Okay. But let me go across to Anshul Avijit of the Congress Party joining us. Anshul, there are grave concerns, and you've heard 2 experts speak about just on this show, but generally speaking, there have been grave concerns on the manner in which the next Congress chief is going to be selected or elected. It almost seems like, with the kind of pitch that has been made, and Rashid is talking about it, the fact that the Gandhis want Mr. Gehlot to become the next Congress chief, so that they can solve the Rajasthan equation and problem as well, almost makes it a done deal. Are these then free and fair elections?
Oh my God, the phrase that you use, grave concerns. Look at the irony, Shivani. It's the BJP that's not having its elections. They've wrecked the economy. The social tensions are the highest. China is sitting in your territory, and there is continuous indictment of the Congress party over its internal elections, which it announced last year, and the culmination which we're seeing now. Actually, I'm quite happy that the fascination in the Congress party's twists and turns, who's contesting, who is not. How much support will they have, the kind of competition, the canvassing, the lists. It's all very fascinating. That's how an election should be. That is how every election inherently is made out to be. There is competitiveness, there is competition, there is canvassing. And this is not dissimilar to any election in that way.
But is it? Is the Congress president election the same as any other election?
No, you have talked about the grave concerns, my God. Onerous words these are.
Well, you should take it as a compliment, Anshul, because I think we all genuinely care what happens to the Congress party.
Absolutely, and I've made it at every point to say how thrilled and delighted I am at the interest taken in the Congress election.
Why not? It's the oldest political party in the country, and its decline has been a matter of concern for everybody. You talk about democracy in the country. How are we going to have that if there is no strong opposition? Like I said, it's a matter of compliment for the Congress party.
No. First of all, the concerns about democracy in the Congress party are completely unfounded. That's not where the problems lie. The problem lies in
I wasn't talking about the Congress party.
Itself.
I was talking about the fact that in the country, we are talking about Indian democracy. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I agree with you. So there was a concern about this. I understand the concern. A particular announcement was made last year in which there was a process of the selection of the Congress president that is reaching its fulfillment. So the pledge is supposed to be fulfilled at the moment. There's been no hiccups on the way. And this idea about the lists and, drivers and all is all bunkum. the thing is that I've seen the process throughout. I was noticing how it went there. I was in Bihar as well. There are PROs, there are DROs that have been appointed at every level. There was a process in which these delegates are elected according to the number of memberships that they are. I mean, you can keep raising questions. I mean, that's a part of the propaganda.
No, no.
And a part of
Again,
the
Anshul,
That's
the question I was
fine.
asking you was that with Mr. Gehlot very prominently emerging as the Gandhi's choice, does it remain a contest anymore?
No, no. Again, I'm going to, if you will forgive me, Shivani, resist from taking any names and speculating on what the outcomes may be. You will appreciate my position there. Why would I do that? There are a number of people, perhaps there are two at the moment, which the press is saying they've announced themselves. Until we know for certain what is going to happen, everything is in the realm of pure speculation.
Okay.
I am not going to preempt that and start commenting on their prospects and what their strengths, what their weaknesses are, how many people they can muster up. I mean, that's all for you to do. And I'm really happy you're doing it. You should be doing it.
Okay. Before I go across to Tuhin Sinha, Anshul, I'll come back to you. Before I go across to Tuhin Sinha, Ms. Radhika, you want to respond? Anshul is saying that the lists are absolutely well done and well stitched up. There's not a question there.
I'm talking from my experience of covering organizational elections in the state of UP in the past. You know, Shivani, there used to be fisticuffs. Almost every district, every block had reported, brawls between two factions, and not because they were divided over the choice of the candidate. It's just because vested interest was so much at play. You know, you could see that. And, that kind of played out in street fights. So when he says that it's all bunkum, it is not bunkum, please. You know, there are several complaints. Every election, there are complaints about fake names and ghost names. I mean, names of people who don't exist. You know, so I don't think I'm making up anything. I'm talking from my experience.
Yeah, and I don't think that the Congress should come from the point of view that everybody has something against them. The fact that we're discussing their elections and the fact that everybody is so interested and their process is even being scrutinized is frankly something that is par for the course and should come as par for the course. But I'll go across to Tuhin Sinha now. Tuhin, you know, you should be finally happy that you're getting that the Congress is finally moving towards a non-Gandhi as its president. You've criticized the Congress party for the longest time as being a Parivar first family. They're moving on. Why don't you welcome them?
Well, good evening, Shivani. In the last couple of days, no doubt the Congress has made some contrived attempts to make it seem that democracy exists in the party and that Parivarwad, it is not only about Parivarwad, but then the effort is so hackneyed, it is so forced that you can see through it, you know, and like you yourself mentioned, there are big questions over the electorate, over the electoral list, which is where the catch really is. Now, when it comes to the two candidates, you know, if you ask me, both are absolutely mediocre. Ashok Gehlot has presided over the worst law and order situation collapse in Rajasthan, where obviously the victims have been from the weaker sections, and Congress has showed utter hypocrisy, true to its character, and not Rahul Gandhi's Rajasthan has not figured in his tragedy tourism list. Shashi Tharoor in the last few years has resorted to nothing more than wisecracks and innuendos, Hindu-Pakistan snites. So I think either way, it won't change the fortune of the Congress party, more so because Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi would not let the control go. My simple question to the Congress party today is, let's suppose the new president is elected around October 20. Will Rahul Gandhi let that person lead the Bharat Jodo Yatra and take the back seat? No. So
let
in
Anshul
that case,
respond to that.
Why would anybody respect that Congress president?
Will the Gandhis eventually let go of the control, Anshul?
So, Shivani, what you've done is completely collapsed time, gone 1 month ahead, and now you expect me to comment on it. I don't know how I'm supposed to do that. What I'm going to say is that there is a process which is on. I would really urge everyone to, please keep speculating. You're absolutely right. The interest is there, and I'm mincing no words by saying that I'm absolutely delighted there is interest. Of course, it should be there. It will be there. Please keep speculating. There will be more if more names come, there will be more speculation. But you can hardly expect me to say what the kind of equations there are. One thing I will say about the leadership of the Congress and the relationship between the leadership and the Congress president. Now, this kind of leadership is an old one. Sometimes it perfectly overlaps when they are the same thing. You must remember that there was, the moral authority of Gandhi in the 1930s and 40s, in the 1920s as well, was completely unquestioned. But he became the Congress president only once. That doesn't mean that he was not the leader or was not spearheading the Congress party. There was also the Congress president that he was always there, that looked after the organizational aspects, the administration, the resources. So there are duties cut out. They completely work hand in hand.
The difference though is, Anshul, I get where you're coming from. You could be the fountainhead or the source of inspiration and of ideology for a party and not be the party president. I totally get that. The problem is you're comparing Rahul Gandhi with Mahatma Gandhi. I think that's a comparison too far-fetched.
No, hang on. Come on.
Rahul Gandhi has been Congress president. He's also been the de facto Congress head and has led your party to defeat after defeat. We are not fighting the British anymore. You've got to win elections, for heaven's sake.
Shivani, please do not misunderstand me. I was invoking the Congress party's history to make a point and talk about the relationship between the Congress party, the leadership, and the Congress president. Obviously, over time, that has changed. First of all, till 1933, it was only 1 year that you could be Congress president. That changed after 1933. So many people became for multiple years. There were changing equations. There's a changing dynamic. Obviously, it's a 137-year-old party.
But why are you not answering my straight question?
What is your question?
Will the control still remain with the Gandhis? That's ultimately the big outcome that we're all wondering about when it comes to this election.
I encourage you to wonder. I am not stopping you from wondering. But to expect...
You don't seem confident, though, that it will be a real leadership change.
No, there is a function of a Congress president. Of course there will be. There is a function of a Congress president. If somebody who assumes that role is expected to fulfill that. But that's just a beginning of any president of the party. There are challenges in front of us. Nobody has denied, Shivani, that there are no challenges that exist before us. You should ask questions to the BJP, which has not had a democratic culture at all. In fact, I would say that I'm least interested in the BJP's democratic culture, even if it decides to have presidents tomorrow, because their ideology will still remain the same.
Their ideology is going to be the same. I don't think that they're saying they want to change their ideology.
About their democratic culture, which is non-existent.
Okay, let Tohin respond to that. I want to go across to Rashid also very quickly on the Gandhi question. Yes, Tohin.
It should suffice for me to say over here that in the 24 years when only Sonia and Rahul Gandhi ji could be the Congress president, BJP had all of 10 presidents, and most of them came, are first-time politicians, some of whom started their careers pasting posters of the party. So whether they were nominated or elected does not matter. See the graph of the Congress party from 1998 to 2024 to 2022 and compare it with the graph of the BJP from 1998 to 2022. If results work, if our BJP presidents have been delivering consistently, why should it matter whether they are...
Do tell me whether it's the government or the party. There is no difference.
Okay, Anshul, let him respond.
Yes,
how does it matter if all of the BJP presidents have consistently delivered and we have had consistent changes?
Okay. No, I think it's not a fair comparison to compare BJP and how its presidents are elected and Congress. The questions for both are entirely different. The BJP does have a fountain source and a fountain head. It has a certain ideology. I don't think anybody's shying away from that. But they do have a process where new leadership is assigned and given that space. It is an entirely different question for the Congress party because it is a party that centers around a family and nobody can deny that. Rashid, I'll give you the final word. And that final question is again the same. Regardless of whether we get the first non-Gandhi president in over 2 decades of the Congress party, will the Gandhis still very much be in control?
I think, Shivani, it all depends upon electoral success or the absence of it. Remember, nobody questions that kind of dynasty or just continuing, to Naveen Patnaik or to M.K. Stalin and all, because they are also represent dynasty, but they are success electoral terms. They are successful. In the Congress, of course, the political authority would continue to be with Gandhis. See, it is immaterial whether they are president or not. Just as Mr. Narendra Modi has never been a BJP president, but that nobody on the census can say that Mr. Modi is not important or relevant to the BJP. So there is no correlation, Shivani, between being a party head or being
The reason I ask you this question though, Rashid, is that the new party head, after a period of decline for the Congress party, should at least have some sort of a leeway to bring about the changes that several senior Congress leaders have been asking for themselves. You know, there have been resolutions passed over it. If none of that happens, then this is a pointless exercise, whether Gandhi is president or not.
Yeah. So Shivani, if what I have understood, your question is Mr. Ashok Gehlot, if he wins, would he have his own political secretary? Can he stop listening to K.C. Venugopal, who's the general secretary in charge of organization, or Ajay Makan, or all those people in the Congress? I think the answer is big no, because Mr. Gehlot would know the boundaries in which he will have to work. He cannot displace team Rahul Gandhi that exists not only in the AICC secretariat but in all states all over the country. So
I'll leave it at that. I think you've given as clear an answer, Rashid, as one can. I do thank for the candidness for all of our guests, and thanks a lot for joining us. We slip into a very short break. Stay with us. News and updates do continue in just a bit.
"22 weeks of unparalleled domination. India's indisputable #1. CNN News 18, on your side."
There is a video of a Pitbull attacking a cow. Have a look at our next report.
The incident took place at Kanpur's Sarsaiya Ghat. The Pitbull bit the cow on its jaw and then just refused to let go. The scary visuals show the cow struggling to shake the dog off. Locals tried to pull the dog off, even hitting it with sticks, but the Pitbull clung on to the cow. Both animals moved into the water, and after a few moments of struggle, the locals finally managed to wrench the dog off. While the cow swam off, the locals dragged the dog to the ghat by holding on to its neck.
Now, the Yuva Gau Seva Samiti in Bikaner district has organized a Gau Pushti Maha Yagya to prevent dangerous and deadly disease of lumpy virus rapidly spreading among the cows. The people made sacrifices in this yagya. Pandit Gopal Panesha told that along with the service of cows, yagyas are being organized at many places today so that the lumpy disease can be cured in mother cow.
हमारा उद्देश्य यही है हम सब लोगों का। हमने जो आज यज्ञ किया है, यज्ञ पूर्णतः गौ माता के लिए किया है। आज उत्तर भारत में अधिकाधिक राजस्थान में ये लंपी रोग से गौ माताएं ग्रसित है। आप सब लोग को ज्ञात है, आप देख ही रहे हो। गौ माता का रोग दूर हो, गौ माता स्वस्थ हो, उसी संदर्भ में उसी उद्देश्य से आज हम सब ने मिल करके सवेरे 7 बजे से लेकर के शाम 7 बजे तक यज्ञ करने का निश्चय किया है, संकल्प किया है।
A man was brutally thrashed in Assam's Kachar on suspicions of being a child lifter. We bring you more in our next report.
The victim, a 22-year-old, was spotted by a mob in a tea garden in Kachar district. They dragged him out of his car and assaulted him repeatedly, leaving him in a critical state. The mob even set the man's car on fire. The mob suspected the man to be a child lifter and thrashed him as a result. But police urged locals not to take law in their hands and based on rumours of child lifting. An FIR has been registered and at least 10 people, including minors, have been apprehended while the investigation is in process.
A shocking video has emerged of a group of women mercilessly thrashing a man outside the Raipur airport. Yes, more.
The angry woman kept slapping the man, punching him and even thrashing him with a belt. They even tore the man's shirt when he tried to flee from them. The entire incident was allegedly over a monetary dispute. The man, who claims to be a taxi driver for a travel company, alleges that he didn't get paid for the months of May and June. When he went to the travel agency's office at the airport, he claims that the employees started misbehaving with him. The taxi driver alleges that when he asked for the manager's number, the female employees started thrashing him.
Heavy rains in Bihar's Bhagalpur have led to large-scale destruction. Here's a report.
As the water levels of the Ganga rose, the ground under this house gave way. That led to the roof of the house caving in, and within minutes the entire structure got washed away. Soil erosion after heavy rains are leading to more and more homes getting destroyed.
2 दर्जन तक घर समा गए गंगा में, और इससे पहले जो है शुरू से देखा जाए तो हमारे ग्राम में 50 घर से ऊपर विलीन हो गए होंगे।
The situation is so dire that people have no choice but to ditch their homes in order to save their lives. It's not just houses. Soil erosion has also brought down several trees. These visuals of trees flowing in floodwaters has become an all too common sight this monsoon.
Urs Razvia in Bareilly is the only book fair in Asia where only books related to Islam are found on a large scale. This is an annual book fair. Booksellers from all over the country come and set up their stalls here. People wait for this book fair for the whole year and also purchase a large amount of books from this fair. Books here are available at a discount of 50%.
यहाँ पे किताबें उर्स रिज़वी के मौके पर डिस्काउंट पे मिलती हैं, इसलिए हम यहाँ से इतना वजन इतनी किताबें लेकर जा रहे हैं ताकि हमें इसमें डिस्काउंट का फ़ायदा मिले। और ये दावत इस्लामी की तरफ से 450 रुपये वाला कुरान 30 पारों का 150 रुपये में दावत इस्लामी मकतबतुल मदीना की तरफ से शाया कर रही है। तो इस वजह से हम जो 350 रुपये की किताब है वो 120 रुपये की किताब मिली है। इस साल ज़्यादा रश था, पब्लिक बहुत दूर दूर से विदेशों से भी यहाँ पर तशरीफ़ लाई।
A hair-raising accident in Assam's Kachar district has been caught on camera. We bring you more in our next report.
People were sitting around a field when suddenly a speeding van barreled into a group of men. While some men quickly moved away, 2 to 3 of them were knocked down. The van then turned turtle and crashed into the field. Stunned onlookers started screaming in horror. A few people then ran towards the van to rescue those trapped inside. They pushed the van to an upright position and then they managed to drag the driver of the van out.
A district product fair and exhibition was organized near the Mahant Shivala temple of Mirzapur with the aim of making self-reliant India. It was inaugurated by Union Minister Anupriya Patel. Local products of Mirzapur will be promoted at this fair. Now, Anupriya Patel speaking at the event said that it's pertinent that people become self-reliant and communities are able to sell these commodities that they excel at. A two-wheeler spare parts factory near Halol Road in Vadodara caught fire in the wee hours of the night. Over 56 employees and 11 fire tenders reached the spot to douse the raging fire. No casualties have been reported in this incident yet.
तकरीबन 56 से ज़्यादा एम्प्लॉयज़ हमारे काम कर रहे हैं। आग कई बड़ी हो चुकी है। अंदर टू व्हीलर्स के कुछ पार्ट्स हैं जैसे कि टायर्स, ऑयल वगैरह वगैरह चीज़ें हैं जो काफ़ी हाईली फ्लेमेबल हैं और फोम फायर फाइटिंग से हम लोग फायर फाइटिंग कर रहे हैं अभी। हर एक जगह पर यूनिट को अलग जगह पर प्लेसमेंट कर दिया है। वैसे प्लेसमेंट से एक एरिया कवर करते कवर कर रहे हैं। लगभग 30-40% तो कवर कर लिया है, 60%.
Now, India has given a befitting response to Pakistan over the Kashmir issue. The New Delhi has said that it's regrettable that Pak Prime Minister chose the platform of the UNGA to make false accusations against India. A polity that claims it seeks peace with its neighbours would never sponsor cross-border terrorism nor shelter planners of horrific Mumbai terrorist attack.
It is regrettable that the Prime Minister of Pakistan has chosen the platform of this August Assembly to make false accusations against India. He has done so to obfuscate misdeeds in his own country and to justify actions against India. A polity that claims it seeks peace with its neighbors would never sponsor cross-border terrorism, nor would it shelter planners of the horrific Mumbai terrorist attack, disclosing their existence only under pressure from the international community.
Bangladesh's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina spoke about the Rohingya refugee crisis in her country while
Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Bits to Billions. We're bringing you this episode from Mumbai. We're here to meet an online education startup that became a unicorn. It seeks to make Ivy League courses more affordable and accessible for students and professionals. Founded by Ashwin Damera and Chaitanya Kalipatnapu in 2010, executive education startup Eruditis began with offline classes where faculty from Europe's INSEAD and the Indian Institute of Management Ahmedabad would teach a 10-day classroom program in a 5-star hotel for 10 to 15 people, mostly working professionals. But that changed in 2015. It pivoted to an online teaching model and raised venture capital from investors such as Bertelsmann and Sequoia. Today, Eruditis and Emeritus, its online wing, make Ivy League education accessible and affordable to those who seek it. They have tie-ups with MIT, Harvard, Columbia, Berkeley, etc. INSEAD was the first school they tied up with. Eruditis became a unicorn last year after it raised a whopping $650 million led by SoftBank and Axel at a valuation of $3.2 billion.
Hey, Chandra, good to meet you.
Great to meet you. Great to be in your city, Mumbai. Welcome to Bits to Billions. So as I said, Eruditis seeks to make Ivy League courses more accessible, affordable, targeted at executives, working professionals. But if I look at EdTech today, there's a lot of noise, a lot of concern that, the dream run for education technology companies in India is perhaps coming to an end, that, people are going back to offline. There's not much of online happening anymore. Would you agree with that assessment? How does Eruditis see the EdTech landscape?
I think you should break the EdTech landscape into 3 buckets: K-12, test prep, and higher ed. And so we clearly operate in the higher ed space. To some extent, there can be skepticism in K-12 as well as in the test prep space because of, COVID has kind of receded, people are going back to offline. But if you look at higher ed, especially working professionals where we operate, I think our future is very bright. Why? Because universities have gone online. Regulation in India especially has facilitated more online degrees, more online courses. And today, working professionals are all embracing virtual first. So imagine you can, sit in your home, wherever in India it is. It could be Jabalpur, and you can do a course from an MIT or an IIT. I don't think that trend is reversing.
Right. But Ashwin, we've seen a lot of edtechs take measures to rationalize and resize their workforce layoffs. I think you've also had to do that. How hard have you been hit by the current slowdown?
So I don't think it's edtech only. If you look at the broad startup ecosystem, you've seen that everybody is looking at burn. Because in general, the world that we're in, right, the funding that was there last year or year before is no longer there. So everybody's talking about path to profitability and, reducing your burn so that you can actually increase your runway. In fact, some large companies also have reduced hiring, are laying off people, whether it's the Microsofts or Googles or Amazons of the world. So why single out only EdTech? But specifically to EdTech, there is a point there because there were some parts of EdTech, especially K-12 and test prep, that saw massive growth in the last 2 to 3 years. And many founders have projected that growth forward and hired and scaled as per that. And that clearly has to scale back, right? So there is some correction to be done, but longer term, if you think about the sector, what are we saying? Like today, less than 5% of people in India are learning online, right? Why will that number not be 25, 30%? If you look at India just today, right, only about 27% of Indians are finishing high school and going to college. In the US, that is 80%. In UK, that's about 50, 60%. In China, it's 45%. So, and that number, by the way, in India, that 27% is 40 million. In the next 10 years, why would that not double? Then there will be 40 million new students in higher education. We can't build enough campuses, Chandra, to create 40 million seats. So I think the future is very bright. And online is the way forward for this country to realize the demographic dividend. Right? Because we're not going to have the brick and mortar university seat. So we have to create skilling opportunities, degree and non-degree, in using online as a medium to take education to the masses. So I am super, super confident that the secular trend of online is going to continue.
Come on, Ashwin, maybe we can grab some coffee and get to your backstory in this next segment. So what's different about you is this is your second venture, Eruditis. You started up actually, your first venture was Travel Guru, you know, sometime in 2008,
2005.
2005. But it had to fold in the aftermath of the Mumbai attacks and the financial, the subprime crisis and so on. So how did that change you as an entrepreneur when you were building out your second venture? And how did you go from travel to education?
Yeah, so Travel Guru we started in 2005. We sold to Travelocity in 2009. And in that journey, I had many ups, many downs, and I learned a lot. We were just able to return money to our investors. So it was an okay outcome financially. But from a learning experience, Chandra, it was a really good experience for me. In fact, I think a lot of entrepreneurs benefit if they can go into those kind of experiences early on in their career. It definitely shaped the way I thought about my second startup, Eruditis, right? So one is I was not in a mad rush to raise capital. Second,
for the first 6 years, you were bootstrapped. You did not raise any money at all.
And we were profitable, which is why we didn't raise money. But we had a passionate focus on product market fit. That every year we would work with one university, next year one more. And we would really understand, hey, what drives the student success in a certain program, right? And when we decided to go online, which was also about 6 to 7 years later, and that's why we had to raise capital, we had a very good idea of how to create these online courses. We follow a SPOC pedagogy, small, private, online courses, versus say a MOOC pedagogy, which is like, hey, it's all self-paced, it's you, your laptop, maybe some popcorn. We believe that no, the magic that happens in a classroom that we had seen up close, we would sit in every single class, Chaitanya, my co-founder, and I, our families were involved. And we said, look, how do we recreate this magic online, right? And so growing slowly, but focusing a lot on the product. And then of course, you know, from 2017, we raised our round and we've scaled, you know, quite nicely. But that was part of our DNA. That came out of my learning in my first startup, where I think we raised a lot of money and started scaling, but you know, the product market fit wasn't fully proven, right? So, I think a second time entrepreneur is probably, and again I say probably, it's not 100% assured, is probably a better entrepreneur.
Because you've made your mistakes the first time around.
Funnily, we make mistakes second time round as well. And that's true for me as well, right? If I reflect back.
But is it faster to course correct because you know what you're doing wrong, you're more self-aware? Is that perhaps the change the second time around?
Absolutely, absolutely. You made certain mistakes. Also, I think you're more grounded. You're not flustered by the ups and downs.
You don't get your ego come in the way of, you know, this is my idea and this is the way it has to work.
More than ego, I think. So the first time when, you know, I would pitch to in say Travel Guru, I would pitch to a venture capital, they'll say no. I used to feel like, oh my God, something's wrong. Is it me? Is it the business? Something's wrong. Now somebody says no, it's for me, it doesn't matter.
So it's easier to deal with rejection also.
Ups and downs of this journey are something that, and similarly the ups. So today somebody might say, okay, you're a unicorn, you're valued at X. But you're like, okay, fine, that's nice, but you're not going to get carried away with it. Versus again, in my first startup, your first round you close, the second round you close, or you're doing an M&A, you're like, wow, so exciting. But then you realize it's a long journey, right? And so you're not taken away too much by the ups, nor are you kind of hammered by the downs. The one other thing I would say is, I think, you asked me also from travel, why to education, right? One thing I can say for sure is, everybody can start up, but nobody can guarantee the success at the end of that startup. Like everybody who starts, by the way, believes they have a fantastic idea. Otherwise, why would you start? Yet, only 2 out of 10 companies even survive the first year, right? So that's basic statistic. So what I decided to do the second time around was to say, look, I don't know the financial outcome, how that's going to be, but let me spend the next 10 years of my life in an area that I care deeply about. And for me, education and healthcare were 2 such areas. And as I started doing my work, I felt education was a better fit for me. And making high quality education, like my co-founder and I, we had access to very good education.
You went to Harvard, he went to INSEAD.
Exactly, right? I mean, doesn't get better than those educations that you can get. But how many people can even access that? How many people can afford that? And yet when you grow up in India, you grew up in Mumbai, I mean, look around us, there's, you know, islands of prosperity and oceans of poverty, right? And there's such an aspiration for education to do better in life. And so how could we make high quality education more accessible and affordable? And I said, look, if I spend 10 years doing this, and at the end of that, I don't make a single rupee, but my life was well spent, right? So at least I know that I was going to spend 10 years doing some good. Now the icing is, supposing that startup also does very well, which when we started, nobody could predict.
And
then
that's
even
a
better.
bonus, yeah.
So I think that's why the flip from say a travel to say education, and honestly, I think that was a wise decision because every day.
So how many people have gone through your courses till now? How many working professionals have say gotten a degree from MIT or Harvard or INSEAD via Eruditis?
So we have about 70 university partners. Most of our courses are non-degree courses. We do have some degree courses. This year, about 250,000 students would go through courses. And I think I can be somewhat proud and say that if Eruditis didn't exist, maybe 95% of them would not have gone through such a high quality education, right? My big, hairy, audacious goal is to touch the lives of 1 million students every year. Right? I don't know if it's going to take us 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, but actually that's a success metric versus a dollar valuation, dollar revenue, blah, 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 blah.
But Ashwin, you know, you spoke about your first time venture, how it was, second time, how it was. When you were raising capital the second time around, I know you waited for 6 years to do it. Was it easier to approach investors because you had, you know, the experience of building a startup? Second time entrepreneurs, investors are a little more confident about.
Yeah, exactly. Even I thought that it'll be, you know, easier, but the second time round, 2016, 2017, we were rejected by 20 investors. In fact, I had a famous fund based in Bangalore say, are you a promoter or are you an entrepreneur? And even till this day, it kind of, you know, rankles. Why? Because they said, look, 7 years, you've scaled from only 0 to 10 million. You're profitable, you've not raised any venture capital money, you don't have ambition. And on the other hand, Chait and I were thinking, hey, we're building product market fit, we are profitable, that's supposed to be a good thing. And then of course in 2017, we raised capital and we grew, but we got rejected by a lot of people, including our first investor, Bertelsmann, initially said no. They had a good reason, we were predominantly an offline business. So they wanted us to see more traction in online before they were to invest, which I think was a legitimate reason. And so look, like I said, rejection is part of it, part of our journey, even the second time round.
And what kind of anchored you and Chaitanya during those tough times?
We knew our students were very happy, right? And we had them making career transitions, and you know, some of them were moving globally for jobs. We knew our university partners were happy. So on two sides of the platform, we know that there was goodness. But online for us is still a very large opportunity globally.
Right. Ashwin, you know, you don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. So who did you look up to when you were trying to start up and, you know, when you were learning the ropes? Is there someone who you were inspired by?
In fact, you know, my brother, when he finished college, he went to the US, he did a PhD, and then he went to Stanford and he worked at HP Labs. And that was the path, you know, growing up in a South Indian family that I was supposed to take. So after my MBA at Harvard Business School, I had an offer with McKinsey to work in their New York office. And I
Which
left,
is like a dream job.
which was honestly my dream job as well, right? But I had also, this business plan for Travel Guru had done well in Harvard's business plan contest. Two of my friends gave me $100,000 and said, go start. So I took that money, came back to India and started, and honestly my parents were concerned because this was not the path that I was supposed to go on. And you're right, I'm a first generation entrepreneur. I didn't have role models within my family. But you know, you figure it out, and that's why I said as a first time entrepreneur, you make many mistakes. I had a co-founder, Ganesh, who was also a first time entrepreneur. We had some mentors. So for example, there was a gentleman called Ramaraj who had earlier worked at SIFI. I think it was a great sounding board. And so we had some mentors like that who helped us around. But honestly, it's not like I had somebody I looked up and aspired to be. If I look at the broader world, yes, somebody like a Narayana Murthy and the Infosys team inspires me because they were first generation and what they built is, you know, is amazing. But I didn't have somebody on a day-to-day basis, right? Second time round, I think Chait and I are a nice complement to each other. So I tend to be more about scale, how do we do things bigger. He tends to be more about
the
academic part. That's his background. And he's very calm, he's unflappable. I can, you know, not that I get agitated, but I can get excited. And sometimes we say, okay, look, let's do this a little more slowly. So having that sounding board has been helpful. And honestly, second time around, you kind of got that experience. And so you don't really need a mentor or something like that.
Ashwin, if I look at the last 10 years, you focused on working professionals, but you also made an acquisition in the K-12 space, right? I think ID Tech, which works in the coding area. So going forward, what other adjacencies do you see for Eruditis? Which areas will you get into? Which segments will you stay away from?
Yeah, I think the stay away from is quite clear. I think we're going to be focused on higher education, and that means we stay away from everything else. Like test prep is not something that I'm excited by. Even K-12, this is not curriculum K-12, this was more about teaching the skills of the future to young adults. So we already had courses with an MIT or some of other schools teaching coding. So how do we take that for young adults? That was the hypothesis. The area that I'm most excited by in terms of growth is how do we take our courses to students through enterprise? Like, so how do we grow our B2B business? That's one area of focus. Second is how do we grow more regionally, right? So for example, in Spanish, in Portuguese, maybe in other languages, Arabic, Turkish, French, German, maybe one day in Hindi as well.
Ironically, you were profitable for the first 6 years when you were bootstrapped without any external capital. And then you started raising venture money, spending more and scaling more, and then, you kind of became loss making. So when are you going to become profitable again?
So this year we won't be profitable. We will get very close to being profitable in the second half. My sense is that next fiscal, which is fiscal 24, is when we will be profitable. Look, we are continuing to grow quite well, so we'll nearly double this year versus last year. But some of the, let's say, expansions, we were going to go into certain markets, like say Brazil, for example. Those are things that we will slow down a little bit as we think very consciously about path to profitability.
What would you say is your superpower as an entrepreneur?
He can't hear no for an answer. For him, a no is a delayed yes.
But when she says no, it's a firm no. There's no delayed yes there.
Make no.
That I've learned. That's different. Outside the house,
True
entrepreneurship is different.
The BJP has slammed the Congress, saying Chief Minister Bommai is being targeted because he is from the Lingayat community.
This is a campaign by the Congress party against this 40% corruption government. This is a campaign by the Congress party against this 40% corruption government.
A man was stabbed to death in Karnataka's Kalaburgi for not repaying 9,000 rupees of a loan. Here's a report.
Zamir had borrowed 9,000 rupees from an acquaintance, Samir. When Samir asked for the money back, Zamir allegedly started avoiding him. One day, Zamir was crossing the street when he was confronted by Samir and another man. The two men attacked Zamir with sharp weapons. Zamir tried to escape, but the two men overpowered him and stabbed him repeatedly. Even though it was a crowded street, not one person came to his rescue. Zamir's injuries were so grave that he died on the spot. The two accused fled after committing the crime.
Ramdas Athavale reached the village to meet the victim's family in connection with the murder of two minor real sisters in Nighasan police station area of the district. He consoled them and assured them of all possible help. He also said that the government is with the victim's family. The CM has announced 25 lakh rupees to the victim's family.
ये आरोपियों को फांसी की सज़ा मिलनी चाहिए और मैंने अभी अधिकारियों से बात भी की है और माननीय मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी ने मतलब इस केस को फास्ट ट्रैक कोर्ट में ले जाने की अनाउंसमेंट की है और 3 महीने के अंदर ही 3-4 महीने के अंदर ही इस केस का जजमेंट आना चाहिए। इसी तरह की भूमिका मुख्यमंत्री जी ने व्यक्त की है। मुख्यमंत्री जी ने 25 लाख रुपया जो है ये इस फैमिली के लिए अनाउंस किया है।
Amid a spate of attacks of aggressive pet dogs biting people, there is a video of a Pitbull attacking a cow. Have a look at our next report.
The incident took place at Kanpur Sarsaiya Ghat.
Apart from running Eruditis, Ashwin also wants to invest into the ecosystem and back startups. Through his family office Damera Ventures, co-managed by him and his wife Bhagyashree, he recently invested 240 crore rupees in venture debt firm Innovent Capital India.
So Bhagyashree, welcome to the show. Thank you. Both of you, your story is almost like two states, right? He's from South India, from Chennai, and you're from Maharashtra. How did you guys meet?
Well, we have a very traditional arranged marriage.
That's hard to believe.
I tell many people and they think, oh, you're bluffing, it's a love marriage. Amchi Mumbai girl meets Vada Pav Pani Puri girl meets Idli Dosa Rasam Sadam boy. We were introduced by my grandfather lives in Chennai and he's friends with his grandfather, and they used to play bridge in